G'day and welcome to 4AW. Today I want to talk about our bipod system and what we've done using the different components so people can make sense of what we've got listed on our web store. To start off with, the bipod system is a unit that largely starts with this component A, which is a unit that we've designed to accept Atlas bipod legs. Now we have one here. This is your regular Atlas bipod. This is simply involving whether you have one or you're buying one, whatever it is, of pretty much all the different models, where you can simply undo this Allen screw on the side here, take everything including that silver clamp or that silver cam, remove that and then fit it to this component A. One on either side obviously, and then you have the main component of this of our bipod system. The next is, and I'll bring up some rifles to explain some little bits and pieces to go with all that, and this is the first rifle that we did the system with, and with where the lion's share of the testing was done. Now, it doesn't really matter, but this is a Hauer 1500 and an XLR chassis, and the reason we started here was this is a round barrel guard, and to fit this up, you obviously, at this stage, we're talking about having the component A with legs attached to it. Component A, by the way, comes with these two screws in the bottom of it, a little bit of blue Loctite, so it's a semi-strength Loctite that you remove this to put the clamp on, and then you lock them up to the tension you want them to be. But that's how that bit works. For this thing, a round barrel guard, you can simply use component B. Component B is this component, which is just an aluminium. Both, by the way, these components are made out of aircraft aluminium, the 7570 or 7075, sorry, but the aircraft aluminium. And this is simply machined, so the outside is finished. The inside you machine out to suit the size of your barrel guard, or ideally 0.1, 0.2 millimeters smaller. You clean up your barrel guard, use some high strength bearing Loctite, push it on the front here, a little bit of warmth on these things here, where the barrel guard's cool, you'll find it'll push on quite easily, let the Loctite set, and you're done. You can put your clamps on, and then you have a ready to go bipod system. That's where it was initially designed, and when, like I said, it's worked really well here. I'll go through some of the features at the end of the video, but that's a simple process. Component A, component B, in a round barrel guard. We have the measurements of what size you can take. That's how that's going to work. Works really nicely. So that's that one. Now the next one we did it was to the first one we got of the MDT chassis, which is like a lot of other chassis. Doesn't have a round barrel guard. This has an 8-sided or an octagon for a barrel guard. You get different sizes here, and the process is very similar with one extra step. I removed this barrel guard, put it in a lathe and machined it down. So took it to where it was round, and then machined this to where it suited that same little interference fit, Loctite on the front of it, done. Nice and simple, goes on here really easily, works really well. Nice high center of gravity, locks up well, rotates well, really happy with how that whole system works. So that's those. Work really nicely, and both those systems very well sorted and done. Now the next thought of how to do this, and what I wanted to get done before I tried to bring anything to market, which we've now done, is this bit here. Now this bit lets you bolt to pretty much every other rifle. This simply has this piece here, which is the same as having the bushing for the clamps to run on. But the difference with this fella here is that it's made with this rail on the bottom, which is just a rail with some spaced out holes. So whether you're screwing to mount to the bottom of the stud, where you're using where the swing swivel studs are to mount to the bottom of a stock, or you're mounting to a Picatinny rail on the bottom of a stock or bottom of a chassis, you can also use, we just use some universal, this type of thing here, which is a universal quick attach for a Picatinny rail. This one has a second Picatinny rail piece. Just undo these two screws, screw that onto here, and you're done, where you have this as a quick attach system. And this could be used to go onto multiple rifles. You leave it set up with your bipod on it, it'll go on. You've got this adjustment screw here, which lets you change the height of things up and down, different angles. You can turn it back the other way to get very close to the barrel. All the different choices of pretty close to what I could imagine the different setups you can run on the fore end of a rifle. But that is set up to do that. That is component C. And in various forms, we can provide it with quick release attachments if people want them. You have to email us and ask that. You can obviously buy these. You set up in different forms, whether you're screwing it on, mounting it on, using swivel studs, all those different things. It's going to mount to there nicely, but made to be very, very flexible. So that's the basics of component A, component B, and component C. The last bit we've done at the moment are these ones here, which are specifically for the LSS chassis in the MDT range. Someone asked us if we could do them. We had a chassis here, so we thought we'd go through and do it. And this is a barrel guard. This gets around where you can use this system for a chassis that's only got half a barrel guard. This one gives you back your full barrel guard, mounts to the front, and there's no other bits and pieces to go with. Work really nicely, and I'll bring up that chassis there. This is our 308 that is in the LSS chassis. You can see here, there is that barrel guard mounted up on there. Just uses M-lock to be able to go to there. It is spaced to suit the offset they've got there, the chassis running on. And we could build these for other ones later on. At the moment, we've only built them for here. But that system bolts up there. I did it in a short barrel guard and a long barrel guard, and found the long barrel guard actually gave some more rigidity, a tiny bit more weight, but more rigidity to this chassis. And it worked really nicely, which is something I'm just about to get into. But listen, that's what it is, and we can do that. That's best for the MDT, LSS, Gen 2 chassis, both short and long, and I've found they work really nicely. Anyway, that's an overview of that sort of stuff. Of the way to use those different components, and I'll just recap that. Component A, which has 2 screws in it, both with actually a blue Loctite we already have on them, and you need that. You simply mount your Atlas legs to the side of it. I tend to use the long legs, and I'll go through that in a bit. I prefer to use the long legs. It gives you a little bit more range, but they'll work with short legs. They'll work with all the different choice on that score. And I should say with the short legs, you do have the choice. If you've just got the short Atlas bipod and you want a bit more length and you're trying to do it all a bit more on a budget, you can just get these leg extensions. You pop off the feet, put these in here, 1 or 2 of those, however far you want to go, but that would let you run with a Atlas bipod that you already have, or can get a good price on a short leg one, mount it up to here, and you still have the ability to go short or out to nice and long, given with the extensions. Another way to do the process. The last bit I'd say, in mounting there, I tend to use a bit of Loctite on those, so when you set that up, you'll tend to feed, that's how you find them from Atlas. So to put a bit of Loctite to lock those down is not a bad idea. It just means that you don't get them loosening off when you move them around. You don't normally need to, but that is just simply how the Atlas system works. They are Loctited, so I tend to repeat it when I put them onto our system. And as for getting the legs, we can supply them. It's a bit trickier because we're over in Australia, so we're getting stuff from America to Australia to then send on again. So generally, no matter where you are in the world, it's cheaper to freight it once or ship it once. So getting it direct from Atlas, and when we order them, we get the long leg no clamp system is the one I recommend. But like I said, any of the legs will work with that system. Anyway, that's that bit there. And I want to go through some of the features of what I found with it. We've done sort of a year of testing and found quite a few details, some that which were designed in and some which were happy coincidences or a bit better than designed, and I'll go through that now. First of all, this system was designed as high center of gravity. I've done different bits and pieces, run my TRG bipods, trying to get them up close to the barrel, done a system on my big rifle where I've got the legs up higher. This was really designed out of something that I'd sort of seen in old military stuff, not something you could buy easily, but also trying to get some slightly different features, but running the legs up nice and high center of gravity to be able to make the rifle more stable and sitting up there. Truth is, the high center of gravity is not that big a deal once the system's locked up, but it does still tend to help with trying to hold the rifle up stiffer and straighter. That was one feature I designed into it. The other feature in having high legs is you can have, or high mount point to your legs, is you can have longer legs and still get down quite low. Now this is, if you got a bag under here, this is really quite able to set up and shoot at dead straight, the 100-yard sort of stuff, and quite nicely on a normal bag. So the legs are probably about the minimum I'd ever run them. A little bit lower, people want to shoot lower. I do have some little extensions in here. It's because I'm a bigger guy, I want a little higher. I made up some little extensions. But if you had the normal long legs, you're going to be down to the lowest position that most people want to go. But by the fact that I have them mounted high, I can get low because they are so high, but it also gives me a lot of extension. If you have a look at the leg full extension, I can get to some real height in there through the fact I've got so much extension, and yet of course it's also tucking away down the bottom. So you just get more adjustability by having your legs higher. The next thing, and probably one of the features I really noticed about this, is that there's a couple of features that came to it. A little bit by design, a little bit by happy circumstance. One was how nice this is to use. This will actually adjust and you can set it up on target quite easily, and yet set up like that, very rigid, and actually action the bolt, really being quite hard with the bolt, pulling things in and out. I don't find them having to reset. Most bipods, you mess around with them, even with the tension nuts and that sort of stuff, you're trying to get it back on target afterwards. These ones aren't, because I have all this surface area of this grip that obviously has a little keyway in there to hold it inside. Let's stick from the front there, you can see how much surface area we have for our traction, which means that it really does grip quite well. And I think also where a lot of the movement happens when the gun's being fired, because we have this extra surface area, as the rifle's moving around more aggressively, it's sticking even harder inside there. So it means they're really good on that score. The next detail, and I can point it out by showing you, this is the normal Atlas bipod and its short legs. We'll click it up to where you'd normally be shooting type of thing in normal sort of distance. If you look at the width of that, then look at the width of what we have here. There's a good 4 inches of more width, and that's in the lowest position. You go to a highest position and you see the sort of width we've actually got. There's a monstrous amount of width, which gives you a very stable platform. It really is a stable platform, and for precision shooting in the ELR stuff where we're after maximum accuracy, that is, I found, to be a real benefit and noticeable improvement over any normal bipod I've tried. That extra width and the grip of the clamps on the top there turns it into a very nice and rigid platform. And I actually find when I go back to my TRGs and things like that, still a great bipod, and I don't want to pick on anyone else's product, but I found that these are just a bit more comfortable. They're nicer, and more of my rifles are going to go over to them. But those are some happy features I've got with it. One of the other things that I designed into this, which is exactly how I wanted it to be, was that you can run other systems on the bottom here, and these bipods do pretty much completely tuck away. Once you're up in a tucked away, whether that's going in the case or you want to shoot on it, you want to shoot with a bag, you're shooting on a barricade, you want to use a different type of bipod system, you want to shoot on a tripod, like I said, or shooting over a rucksack, that sort of stuff, this bipod disappears. It goes to where it's not part of the problem, it's not there at all. And another feature with this system is you could, if you're in a position where you're out of ways to be able to shoot, you could use this system completely upside down. We're actually hanging from the bipod. So it is able to work in all variety of situations, really designed to use like this, but that's another feature that you would be able to use the bipod in that situation if you wanted to. But anyway, that's an overview of what we've got going on here. So you've got the component A, which is this unit here, which is the clamp system which the legs bolt to, and for something with a full barrel guard, you should be able to use component B. So component A and component B is all you need. For someone with a stock or wants to run multiple situation, doesn't want to do any machining or any of those bits and pieces, then component C is the one that's going to give you all the flexibility to do with that. And then the final one for the MDT with the LSS are these pair of different barrel guards. You could run either one of them. there will be more stuff to come. These bits and pieces are all on the site at the moment. I hope that makes some sense and helps explain a little bit of how to use this system and how it's working. We've found it works really, really well. Really like them on the rifles they're on, and you're going to start to see them on more of our rifles. But they are there for if people want to purchase them. Anyway, hope that helps, and thanks for checking us out.